There's a myth that budget travel means sacrificing comfort or experience. How do you challenge that belief?
I've met the nicest people being on my budget trip. I think if you're in a nice 5-star hotel, you're not really living the real world. I mean, look, don't get me wrong, ladies, it's lovely to do that occasionally,
Mhm.
but
Yes.
it's not reality, right? For most of us, I think you meet the nicest people. I mean, everyone's lovely when you travel, but you tend to find those out of the way places where those really interesting stories come about.
Welcome back to Travel Time Stories with Shannon, where real journeys meet real stories and real healing happens one conversation at a time. I'm your host, Shannon, coming to you from the Lone Star State of Texas. And some weeks I open up and share pieces of my own life story, from my travel adventures to the winding road of healing and personal growth. Other weeks, I'm joined by my best friend and co-host Ann from Missouri as we sit down with special guests who share their experiences, insights, and expertise to help all of us along our own journeys. Today, Ann is here with me. Hey, Ann.
Hey, everybody.
Today's conversation is for anyone who loves travel but has ever thought, I wish I could do this without breaking the bank or feeling overwhelmed. Our guest today is Linda King, an Amazon bestselling author, writer, travel blogger, and travel coach, and the creator of the Smart Travelista. With a background as a travel agent and a banker, Linda brings a rare blend of wanderlust and financial savvy to the table. Ann and I are excited to talk about traveling well, traveling smart, and how confidence with both money and movement can completely change the way we experience the world. Linda, welcome to the show. We're so glad you're here.
Oh, thank you for the lovely welcome, Shannon and Ann. I'm so pleased and really looking forward to chatting with you.
Well, as we say here on Travel Time Stories, grab your favorite beverage and let's get into it. Linda, awesome. We all have our beverages ready. You've had such an interesting path from banking to travel agent to author and coach. Can you share how travel became such a central part of your life?
Sure. It started as a child. I have been traveling since I can remember. And one really pivotal trip that I went on when I hadn't even hit high school yet, my parents took me and my brother around Australia for 4 months. So we
Oh,
saw the whole of
Wow.
Australia from top to bottom, and it's a massive continent, as you know. We traveled by car, we camped, we caravanned, we stayed in motels, we did pretty much everything. But it was a really formative time in my life where I think as a child you're really open to new experiences, you're open to new people, and it
yeah.
just opened my eyes. And I said to my parents, being quite innocent at the time, I love this. Can we do it forever? And they said to me, if you want to do that for your life, absolutely do it. And so that trip really opened my eyes. I went back to school and they got it a bit wrong. They thought I'd gone round the world, not round Australia. And they went, are you the girl that went round the world? I said, no, I'm the girl that went round Australia. But yeah, it was phenomenal. I think after school, that led me into being a travel agent. I was like, now, how do I do what I did as a kid, but for a cheaper cost? Obviously, being a travel agent, we got it quite cheap. I worked for an airline. I went everywhere and anywhere. And as it happens, when you get the travel bug, it never leaves you. So it's like a lifelong
Oh.
addiction, if I can say. And yeah, and so with the world as it's been, being very volatile with travel, I got out of travel and then I've gone back into travel and I've gone out and in, obviously with the pandemic and other events that have occurred over the years, and then got into banking because there's two things I love in life. I love travel and I also love money, as most people do. They love money and how to make it go further. And then when the pandemic hit, I couldn't travel. Obviously, none of us could travel. And It really
Right.
gave me a reflection on what a wonderful travel life I've had. You know, I'm blessed that I'd done all this travel and continue to do this travel. And that's where I thought a blending of money management and travel was a really good marriage, because as a traveler, you want to save money and you want to do more travel. You don't want to drop
Uh-huh.
10 to $15,000 because then you're having to pay those bills. How do you do it cheaply and do more of it, and go to those places on your bucket list? And writing has also been a really something that I've done as a child as well. I used to write a lot of short stories as a child. And then, so what I do now blends it all together beautifully. I share travel tips and I share travel stories. So it's perfect.
It's
I love
wonderful.
it.
That's kind of what we do here too on the show. I'm a
Mhm.
part-time travel agent. I have a regular 9 to 5 job, but then I'm a travel agent part-time on the side. And Ann and I
Mm,
go on trips together and travel. And then we like to share all about our travels with everyone else, hoping other
Yes.
people will be inspired to pack a bag and go see a new place, meet some new people.
right.
It's always such a great experience.
Yeah. So your brand, the Smart Travelista, is all about traveling and quality while saving money. So what does smart travel actually mean?
So to me, I mean, it might mean different things to different people, but to me, it's about not hosteling and doing it rough, because I think that takes away from the travel experience. It's about
Hmm.
how you can manage the travel budget so you can get the nice hotels with the buffet breakfast and all those things. How can you be savvy before you travel? So a lot of the savings for travel starts before you even take off, and the research. So it does take a bit of time and research. You can go to a travel agent. They are the travel experts and they can do that arrangement for you. But then there's also the opportunity to book it yourself online. But where do you start, right? So it's about, I suppose, when you're doing it first up, it can be quite overwhelming and daunting. But once you've done it successfully, you actually look at your bank balance and go, hang on a minute, I've saved so much money here. I want to do that next time. And I want to continue doing that. So what I do is try and make it accessible. Travel should be accessible for everybody, in my opinion. Not
I
just for the
agree.
wealthy, not just for people that, have got additional funds. It should be for everyone, because it is such a life experience. Especially if you go as a solo travel, you'll learn how to handle yourself in good and bad times. You learn how to navigate the world. You learn how to, I mean, there's just so much that you learn. You learn about other people. You learn about other cultures. You're more open-minded about things. It's just
Uh-huh.
such a wonderful education. And I think for me, I think people should do it at least once in their life, because it would really open up their eyes. I find sometimes we get a little bit complacent in our own country and we complain about this and we complain about that. You go and see people that aren't as quite as fortunate as you, it really brings you back down to earth. You tend to be a lot more
Oh,
grateful for what you have. And yeah, it just changes your total perspective. But for me, smart travel is doing that research, doing that preparation. There's a lot of good tools out there that can help us do that. And then it's just about also, while you're traveling, being smart about your money. You know, you might want restaurant and cafe meals every day, but unfortunately, that's going to blow your budget quite a bit. So how do you go to the supermarkets, utilize some of these cheaper meal options, but also taste the food of the country, because that's part of the travel experience as well, and doing the nice things. But it's just about having your priorities set. And, my priorities traveling might be totally different to yours, Shannon, and also yours, Anne. And it's just how you make it your own. Travel's your own and you're going to do it differently to someone else, but it's how you get the best value out of your money.
there
Yeah,
you go.
I
You know,
completely
there's
agree.
Yeah, I do too, completely. There's a myth that budget travel means sacrificing comfort or experience. How do you challenge
And
that belief? What unexpected travel stories have emerged from budget constraints?
you know what? I've met the nicest people being on my budget trip. I think if you're in a nice 5-star hotel, you're not really living the real world. I mean, look, don't get me wrong. ladies, it's lovely to do that occasionally,
Mhm.
but you're
Yes.
not really, it's not reality, right? For most of us. So, I think you meet the nicest people. I mean, everyone's lovely when you travel, but you tend to find those out of the way places where those really interesting stories come about. And I've listened to your podcast, by the way, and I absolutely love it. And some of the
Thank
stories,
you.
you've had some really entertaining stories. And I've had some of those sort of stories too. But it's the things that you'd least expect that happen to you when you travel. And it's
Yes.
when you are on those more budget focused expeditions or excursions. Not to say that those lovely, 5-star experiences aren't nice as well, but you've got a different demographic of people that are on those.
Mhm.
You want to really find out about a place. Excuse my language. You've got to get down and dirty, right? To really
Mhm.
experience
Yep.
what's going on. Because
Exactly.
that's when you're going to see the true essence of a place. So it's about not being afraid to do that, as long as you're safe, of
Right.
course.
Yeah.
Right.
And and you don't have to go on a budget trip. You don't have to be camping out in the wilderness somewhere.
No.
It just means that you're not staying at the luxury end hotels and you're not necessarily staying at one of the hostels, which nothing against either of those. Great
No.
options. You're staying kind of in the middle ground where, like you
Mm.
said, you're at a hotel where you're still getting, that buffet breakfast in the morning. So you don't have to worry about breakfast unless you just want to go out somewhere else and spend some money. And then you stay at places like we did Scotland in 2024, and we stayed at uh, an apartment inside of a castle. And we went to the
Mhm.
grocery store, bought groceries, and we cooked for ourselves. And it just added to our experience and made it so much more wonderful. And we got to experience what a grocery store in Scotland is like versus
Oh,
here in
yeah.
America. Completely different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were able to make our own sandwiches and whatever and go out hiking and sit
Mm.
down someplace beautiful and just eat and, in nature. It was just really wonderful.
Yeah, and as you said, we met wonderful people too while we were traveling all around Scotland. Everywhere we
Mhm.
went, wonderful people, heard wonderful stories. It really
Yes.
added to our adventure and our trip. With your
Yeah.
background in banking, you understand the money side more so than other people do. So, what do people most often get wrong when it comes to travel and finances?
Yeah, there's one big thing, Shannon and Anne, that people get wrong. Depending on where you're going to, not changing the money. So if you're taking cash with you and changing it to a foreign currency, not doing it when you're actually on the ground in the place. So especially for myself, as you can tell by my accent, I'm Australian. When we go to Asia, we never change our money. We wait till we arrive there and then change the money over. Your currency is a lot more valuable once
Mhm.
you're on the ground than it is when you're back home. So one thing you should never do is
Gotcha.
change it at a foreign exchange place at an airport. They are a rip-off totally. I think most people would know not to do that. But it's also good to wait until you actually get there. Another thing, and depending on where you go, so I went to Scandinavia a few months back. They don't use cash. So it's always to be really mindful about whether people accept cash. So if you're going to transfer from your local currency into the local currency, find out whether they actually accept cash. So mainly through Scandinavia, it's cashless. They take credit cards, debit
Oh,
cards, or mobile payments. So it's just, you've got to really be aware of that because you're really wasting, because you're getting conversion, right, when you change money over. You're
Mhm.
going to get a
mhm.
better rate on a credit card. If you've got a Visa card, Visa is renowned around the world to have the best exchange rate. If you've got a Visa card and you take that, you're going to get an even better exchange rate than the publicly released exchange rate. So it's just about finding out and doing a bit of research before you go. Another thing is not, if they do take cash, not using all that money up and spending it. So maybe misjudging how much money they're going to spend in that place. So it's good always to look at the cost of living You can Google it. What's the cost of living in Reykjavik in Iceland or wherever it is? It gives you an idea on what you'll need to spend every day. So, if you're getting, going to the supermarket or, if your breakfast is taken care of with the hotel, that's great. But it's good to know what your budget's going to be there. That's not even including the money that you're going to spend like shopping and stuff. And then make sure that you only take that amount of cash with you. And if you, change it over all, make sure you spend it all, because if you convert it back, you're going to lose a lot of money in the conversion. So
Yeah.
some of these
Yeah.
things are common sense, but it's just about being mindful of that because, if you've got coins when you're left over, you can't change those. Mainly it's like
Right.
notes that can be changed over. So yeah, it's just do that little bit of research. And if they're cashless, take your credit card. If you've got a Visa, use that. But that's probably the main thing I see people do. I don't do that anymore, because obviously I've traveled quite a bit. When I knew I was going to Scandinavia, it was, okay, just take the credit card. Don't even bother with cash because it's not going to be, they're not going to accept it anyway, So, yeah, but just do your
Right.
research. That'd be my big tip.
It's interesting that they're cashless. How can people travel confidently without constantly worrying about money, though? The credit card only, or
I do both. I take some foreign cash with me as well as the credit card.
okay,
There's a lot of really great travel products out there. You can take, I don't know whether you guys have got them in the US, but we've got travel cards where we can load up money and then we just give them
oh,
to the retailers. And it's like a bank, sort of bank of the money. So to say you're going to a few different places, you will put, say, US dollars, UK pounds, euro, whatever it is. And then depending on the
mhm,
country you're at, you can utilize the cash. So I would say, you know, if you've got a credit card, maybe if you've got more than one credit card, it's good to have one in your person, have another one that's locked up in
mhm,
your bag just in case something
yes,
happens. Have a little bit of foreign cash. What I try and do is in my mind, I work out how much is going to be my budget every day. What do I think I'm going to spend? And if I've got a big parcel of money, I won't take the whole lot of the money out. It's going to be coming out per day. And then if I've got a travel card, I use that also. So make sure you have a balance. It's people's preference, right? I
Mhm.
think back in my
yeah,
parents' day, they used to do traveller's checks. I don't think traveller's checks exist anymore,
yes,
but it's about, having a bit of cash, having your credit card or a few credit cards, and then having a travel money card or something similar to that. It's just about spreading the risk because, touch wood, we don't want to be robbed while we're overseas. But if you are,
yep,
eliminate a bit of the risk by not having all that money on your person and having some of it locked up in your suitcase or in the hotel safe.
yeah.
Yeah, for sure. What advice would you give someone who feels like travel is out of reach financially?
What I would say, depending on your location in the world, go somewhere close. Start little, right? So and go to a place that's budget friendly. Again, for me, Asia is very, very cheap. And I think it's cheap for you guys too, but you just got to go a little bit further afield to get there.
Mm.
But it's a really good value place, somewhere like Vietnam, Thailand, and those sorts of places are very, very cheap. But I'm sure there's other places close to the US that are quite cheap as well, a bit more budget friendly. What I would say, start off small. So, and start off somewhere close and then just build up, and if travel's a priority for you, have another bank account where you're putting in and saving money in that. So I have a travel bank account. I have a number of bank accounts, but one of them is primarily for my travel. And I put extra money in there, like whatever I can afford each week. And then when I come to
Mhm.
booking my travel, it's already there. The money's there. I don't even think about it. One thing I wouldn't suggest people do is don't go into debt on your credit card for travel because you're going to have a fabulous time, but then you're in debt and you're coming back having to pay that off with interest on top. So if you're really
Yep.
serious,
Yes.
investigate the places that are cheap, close by. For the bigger ones, like, if you're coming to Australia, for instance, from the US, save a little bit of extra money, make it a more long-term trip. Another thing that I'm hoping that a lot of your listeners do, and I'm sure that you would promote this, is airline miles. So find
Mm-hmm.
some
Yes.
airline programs, find some airlines that you travel on a lot, join their program, start booking with them. Every flight that you take with that airline is then going to give you miles. In Australia, we have a fabulous program, or a few fabulous programs where we can connect our supermarket spending. So everything we get every week then gets transferred
Oh,
in as points. So
wow.
Oh,
you're going to
that's
get
wonderful.
supermarket, and we've got 2 programs that do that. So you can imagine me, right? Get the weekly shopping. It's on the card. It's going into points. That's a no-brainer for us, right? We've also got, I
Mm-hmm.
think
Right.
you guys have got shopping. So, if you're doing online shopping, and certain brands will give you points. Have you got a credit
Mm-hmm.
card that's going to affiliate with the airlines? It's just about the initial research. How can you really maximize and get some good points? Because some of that doesn't involve traveling. Some of it involves shopping. And, we've got also like our utilities, like our mobile plans, electricity plans, all that sort of stuff. So whatever program or programs you join, find out what products are going to give you points. And if you're in the market for that, have a look at it. If it's competitive and it suits your financial plan, go for it. One thing I won't say is don't go into debt just to get the points, because those points aren't worth anything if you're in debt. They're money in the bank
Yes,
for you if
definitely.
you've paid, you've saved, you know what I'm saying? But I'm not giving financial advice here. I would never do that. But what I would say is you've got to be sensible about it. You've got a credit
I,
card that's going to give you miles. Do your absolute best to pay that off in your statement period so you can start afresh the next month. If you do that and you're really smart and savvy about it, those points grow so quickly, and you look at the balance, and that's basically that's money, like money in the bank, if you
Yep.
redeem them for a long haul flight. So there is so many
definitely.
ways to do this. It's just about knowing how to do it. It's simple when you know how.
Yeah. And one thing, like with me, I have to travel a lot for work in my regular 9 to 5 job. And we travel on a certain airline when we fly. So I accumulate a lot of miles with that certain airline. And then in my personal travel, I use those points that I've accumulated to help out with my personal travel. So that's
Yeah, that's
another
wonderful.
little tip there if you travel
I
a lot for work.
yes. And I loved your advice about starting small, close
Hmm.
by. Um, Once you take your first trip and that travel bug bites you, you are going to come home and you're immediately going to start thinking, okay, let me get my travel account opened because that was great advice. And where do I want to go? You know?
A little bit of money you put in that travel account, after a few weeks, builds
Yes.
up, and you don't even realize.
Yep,
J-
exactly.
Yeah, you don't look at that one. That's your no account that you don't touch. You don't look at, you just feed it
Mm.
every pay period, you know. Little bit goes in there and it does add up quickly.
Yeah, it really does. Another tip I like to tell people is you don't have to pay for your trip all at once when you book it. That's the fun
Mm.
thing about travel. And when you're doing your research, there's a lot of things that you're going to do with your trip that you can pay for ahead of time. So that way, when it comes time for you to actually leave on your trip, all of that's already paid for.
Yes.
Mm.
And the main things that are still left, you have that, and then whatever your spending money was allocated for your spending each day is all you have to worry about when it comes time for the trip. That's what we did for our Scotland trip. I planned it a year in advance. I did all my research, mapped out everything where we were going to go. And then
Mm.
anything that we could pay for ahead of time, like tickets to certain things that we were going to go to, that kind of thing, we would pay for. Like 1 month we'd buy the tickets for one place. The next month we'd buy the tickets for some other place. And then by the time we got ready to leave, everything was already paid for up front, with the exception of a couple of hotels that we couldn't prepay for. We had to pay once we were there. And then our spending money. That's another good tip.
It's fabulous.
You've also written 13 books. That's incredible. And I know you kind of mentioned that even as a child you were writing, but what specifically drew you to writing and how did those stories begin?
So, yeah, thank you for that. It's actually going to be 14. I've almost about to release my 14th book in the next little while. But
Oh, wow.
Wow.
yeah, the writing, I think, so we've got 2 book series. So the Smart Travelista guides are what they sound like, travel tips, how to save money and travel the world fabulously. Annex from Abroad came about because I have traveled so much and things sometimes don't go to plan and things happen. And these books are full of all the things that have happened, crazy, unexpected, sometimes shocking. And I've met a lot of people in my travels also, and their stories are in those books. So I think for me, obviously with the travel expertise, I like to share the tips. But with Annex from Abroad, it's about us laughing together and being entertained and learning what not to do when you travel, because there's a lot of morals after the stories about what not to do. I'm sure a lot
Mhm.
of people that travel also have had situations like this, so they can also empathize and, you know, recognize themselves in these stories as well. But yeah, that's really my baby. I love those stories. They make me laugh and they make other people laugh. And it's also a good record. So I always remember these things, right? It's like remembering what happened. Not that I'm losing my memory or anything, but, when I'm an older lady, I can look back at those books and I know
Yeah.
I'm going to reflect and go, I've had a wonderful life, and these are some of the crazy things that happened to
Yes.
me throughout my life. And the books have been really received quite well. I've had a lot of people say that they read one book and then they want to read the whole series because, it's they're self-deprecating, warts and all, no holes barred, things that have happened. And I just tell it like it is. And people seem to like them. So that's great. As I said, I share travel tips and I tell travel stories. The travel stories are true. They happened. I'm still alive now. So I survived it. And yeah, they all had happy endings. So it's quite entertaining for me, actually. I love writing. I don't know. It's the creativity I love. And when you do something and time just flies, that's what happens to me when I write. So, and I would say any writer would probably say the same. Sometimes I miss meals because I'm so into the stories and I'm so into writing. I think for me, you've got to be happy in life. Do those things that fuel your passion, and whether that be travel, whether that be writing, or if it's both, do both of them. I think we're all looking for that. Something that makes our heart sing, and both those things make my heart sing. So, and I like to share, maybe share too much, but that's okay too.
Never too much. Never.
E exactly. Those are the kind of
You're
stories that we love to read, is the true
yes.
nitty-gritty, tell it like it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because every time we
Yeah.
take a trip, Linda, something happens that is either, like you said, oh,
Mm.
very shocking or just hilarious or every time. So I have to ask, your books span practical travel guides and personal stories. How do you decide what kind of story you want to tell?
I think life decides what story I'm going to tell, what happens to me. So, um, I tell all the stories. And I think, as I say in my books, a perfect trip is going to be boring for someone else to read. I don't really want to read someone's diary.
Mhm.
I don't want to see their Instagram. I mean,
Yep.
look, each to their own. I don't want to see the food. Food's lovely, but I don't want to see food, pictures of where they, and just see all their Instagram like that. I want the drama. I don't know about you, but I like to read about the drama. And I don't know, I'm a bit of a
Me
Mhm.
magnet
too.
for drama. I don't know why. I think it's just the chances of traveling a lot. You're going to have some element of drama. and something happening. Because, I mean, life is like that. Life, even living in our own homes, and our own life's full of drama sometimes. So you just can't stop it while you're traveling. Obviously I don't take chances, but when anything happens to me, I'm on that phone writing. So if I'm in a situation where I think this is going to be a story, I'm taking photos, I'm taking videos, and I'm writing. And that's how the stories come about. Because the day that it's happened or the minute it's happened, I'm in there. I'm writing word for word what's happened. If you get the chance to read my next Annex from Abroad, which is the book to be released, I was in in a lot of those situations writing on that phone, and I find that's the best way. And then you've got to put a bit of distance between, because you've got to recover obviously from whatever's happened. But if you can write factually what's happened and the emotion that you felt and how stressed you were and all the rest of it, put that in and document that. That's great. And then what you do later is you put all these stories together. And my books aren't chronologically, they're not like, from this year to this year. Each chapter, you don't know what you're going to get. And I think that makes it more exciting.
Oh,
And
I
it's
love
about,
that.
yeah,
Exactly, it does.
Yes,
you're going from one
definitely.
country to another.
Yeah,
Amazing.
that's great. I'm definitely putting that on my list when it comes out to check out
Yes,
that book.
same.
So how does your writing and storytelling enhance your travel adventures?
That's a really great question. I think traveling's a story, in my opinion. When I travel, there's a story that's been shown to me. The place is showing me their story, right? My story is about how I experience that place, the people I meet, what I see, what I observe, how I feel. I think when you're telling a story, all your senses need to be involved in that. You see, you hear, you smell, you touch. That's a story in itself. And sometimes when we go to a new place, we don't really know. We think we know what we're going to expect. Like we think we know what we're going to see and experience. But going there is a totally different story. One instance is recently I went to Iceland. So Iceland had been on my bucket list for as long as I can remember. I knew that place was going to be beautiful, but it was like blew my mind. It was like nothing I'd ever seen. Like I've been to some places in Scandinavia, but that was just unbelievable. And I think Iceland was telling me a story as I walked down the streets of Reykjavik, as I was seeing the Northern Lights at night. It was telling me its story.
Oh, wow.
And that story that you get from it, the story I got might be a different story that you're going to get, you know? Each person's different. They
Right.
see different things, they perceive different things. So that destination gives me its story, and then it becomes my story and what happens, if that makes sense. So we're sharing our
That
stories
makes
together.
a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it very much makes sense. I love that.
yeah. So I have to
So,
ask, was the Northern Lights in Reykjavik, was it just
yes.
magical?
I was a bit early in the season, so I was in sort of mid-September, so it was a bit early. What I did see, we were out and the stars were out. It was just beautiful. It was like midnight and all you could see was the dark sky and the stars. So they say that it's better when there's no cloud around and all that. I saw this red glow on the horizon. So you can just imagine pitch black and then you see this red glow. And then what
Wow.
happened was sometimes your naked eye doesn't pick up the greens and the blues. It's only sort of further in the season. But I got my
Mhm.
iPhone on there and the pictures were phenomenal. The blues, the greens, the red. It was just the sky was glowing and it was just magnificent. It was very cold. It was like -3 degrees. So what we were doing was we were all rugged up, but you could only stay outside for a few minutes and then you'd go back into the van and heat up and then come back out again. And because it was just so cold, but it was, I have no words. Like it was, and again, on my bucket list, you got to see that once in your life. And it was just phenomenal and it's just amazing to
Yes.
see. And that took us on the tour, he had a really, really big top of the range camera, and he was just flashing the whole time. But you could tell what the northern lights were because you could see the red glow. It looked like a fireball, like a
Hmm.
red ball, like, going across the horizon. It was just, and so I could tell where the northern lights were because I could see the red glow, on the horizon. But yeah, it was, I
Hmm.
have no
Right.
words. It was just so beautiful.
What a magical experience.
Mhm.
Mm.
Just wow. So let's get practical for a moment. What are a few
Mm.
budget friendly travel tips that listeners can actually use?
Yeah, I think while traveling, definitely investigate your supermarkets there. Um, Especially in places that are quite expensive, as you mentioned. There's a thing called grocery tourism where people actually go just to the grocery stores as part of the trips. I didn't know about this, but yeah, grocery
We do
tourism.
that.
You do that? Yeah, great.
We
It was
do
a
that.
it was a new
We can't help it. We have
a
to
new thing
just,
for me.
we have to.
But yeah, so the first place as soon as I put my bags down in the hotel or the Airbnb, I go straight to the supermarkets and I'll find the cheapest supermarkets. And, because in some places it's very expensive. I'm not to say that I don't have meals, hot
Mhm.
Yes.
meals as well, but I just like to balance that out. So that would be my first tip to people. If you really want to save on your budget, go to the supermarkets. Another thing that a lot of places have are free walking tours. They are the best. You're going with a local guide who knows that place really well. If you've never been there, they're going to give you so many tips. You can ask them questions, and all you need to do is give them a donation at the end. Um, so that's why they call them free walking
Mhm.
tours. You just give what you think you can afford, and to thank the guide for taking you around. Try and get a hotel that's going to give you buffet breakfast as part of your research beforehand. Make sure they give you a buffet breakfast, because what you can do, and I know I shouldn't say this publicly, but there's so much food there. You can make yourself some toast, put a bit of cold cuts on there. What I do, I take plastic bags with me, that the bags that have the Ziploc. That's another tip. People, take your plastic
Mhm.
Mhm.
bags, big bags, small bags with a Ziploc.
Always.
What you do, discreetly take a little bag down with your handbag and bake yourself some extra toast. Get a little bit of butter and margarine on there. Get some cold meat, because I've usually got that. Put it in. Make yourself some sandwiches. They're going to be a bit cold. Doesn't matter. Take them with you in your Ziploc bag, and you've already got lunch already sorted. And then all you've got to do is worry about dinner at night. So you're going to have 2 meals in
Yep.
one
And
by
I always
doing
grab
that.
a piece of fruit
Obviously,
too.
just
Yeah.
piece of fruit as well. Just make sure you're looking over your shoulder, though, because
Yeah.
hotels know that people are doing this. You just want to be a bit discreet about it. Another thing I did, because I used to
Exactly.
work quite a bit over in Asia, they have a lot of rice for their breakfast. So what I used to do is again, discreetly, take a little container that had a lid on it, and I would fill it with rice, fried rice or whatever they had on. And then that would be my lunch. So there's so many ways to save money. It's just about, don't be obvious about it. Don't, clear out the whole buffet and have it all over your table and then have a box of food or anything
Right.
like that. That's a bit a, a bit naughty, but discreetly, absolutely, But that's 2 meals already
Yeah.
fixed up for the day. What a budget saving.
That's smart.
Yeah. But there's
Mhm.
so many tips. I'm sure you lovely ladies have got some tips as well, Shannon and Anne.
Well, I have to admit, we've done the same thing that you were just talking
Yep.
about. So we normally do
Exactly.
that on our trips as well. And we even do that on the cruise ship too. We
Yep.
take,
Mm.
Anne brings zip bags for us. And when we
Mhm.
go to the buffet, we get some extra fruit and different things so that we have it later for snacks. Or if we're getting off the ship in a port, we can take that with us and we have a
Mhm.
little snack in port and we
Yeah.
save on a meal.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Take some water bottles filled up and you're good to go.
Yeah.
Mm.
But again, like you say, don't clear the place out.
No.
be
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 mindful
discreet
of other
and be
people.
mindful and
Yeah. But they do
yeah.
throw a lot away. So if you see that's going to happen. I mean, sure.
Exactly. Yeah. Are there common travel mistakes that you see people make over and over? Besides, I know we've
Yes.
touched on the money thing, but besides that, what are some other mistakes?
Another mistake is they don't take their security. They don't keep that in the forefront of their mind, especially when you're traveling through Europe. I've seen so many people being robbed at a distance. Like I'm behind them and I can see that they're being robbed. They're doing silly things like
Hmm.
wearing all their jewelry, having everything on their person. A mistake I saw quite a few men do is putting their wallet in their back pocket. That's a complete no-no. Like, don't put anything on your back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you've got like a little small backpack,
Yeah.
put it at the front. But again, this is common sense to me. I've been doing it for
Hmm.
years. You ladies have probably done that as well. But people just think
Yeah.
they're at home, and act like you're at home. And, sometimes they come undone because they aren't taking their security seriously. Another thing, and it's hard to also when you're traveling a lot, jet lag can really impair you when you arrive in a place, can really make
Mhm.
you not so situationally aware. So what I would say, try and get a little bit of sleep, and try and, have that really strong coffee or that energy drink or that whatever it is to get your brain a little bit more pumped up, because you really need to be aware when you're in a new environment. What we've got to understand is in a lot of countries, we are considered rich traveling. The fact that we're even traveling to them
Hmm.
is you're a wealthy, rich person. In our own mind, we might think we're
Yes.
not, but compared to them, we are. And there's going to be people going, you know what, I
Hmm.
want a piece of
Yes.
that. And so they're going to take advantage. And who are they
Yeah.
going to look for? The jet lagged, silly tourists that are just opening their money out up on the sidewalk, counting their money out in front of a group of people. You've just got to be really mindful of that and really protect your security, because not only might they rob you, they might actually do worse. So you just got to be really mindful. Have a plan B in
Exactly.
mind. Touch wood that this nothing ever happens. But if it does, at least you've got a plan in mind that you're going to start taking action on to protect yourself. So, touch wood. I mean, I've been in situations where it's been pretty low level, but I touch wood when I say that because it can change at any point. We want to make sure it stays
Yeah.
that
Yep.
way, but it's about being
Definitely.
prepared.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
It really is. And people forget to be careful. I think sometimes they're drinking, they're having fun,
Mm,
and security goes right out the window. What's one
mm,
smart travel habit you wish everyone would adopt?
that's a good one. What I would say, if you're using your credit card and you're in a foreign country, always select the local currency. They sometimes give you an option for the local currency or your own currency. How do you want it converted? Always do the local
Hmm.
currency. You're saving on transaction fees and also conversion fees. What you've got to understand is if you're using your credit card, you've got the Visa or the MasterCard rate, it will then get converted from your local currency to then the local currency if you select your currency. If you select the local currency, there's only one conversion and you're saving already. So you're going to save money doing
Awesome.
that.
Good
So
advice. Thank
I'm
you.
not sure that people know that. But automatically we think of our own currency, always select the local because it's
Right.
going to be a
Hmm.
cheaper transaction for you. And you're going to see, and I've tested it in my local and then also in my own currency, and then there was a big difference in what fees and charges were attached to it. So
Oh,
that would be one big tip I'd give people. So if you're paying
that's
with
a
cash, it's not something that'll happen. But if you're paying with a credit
right.
card, always select their currency.
Great idea. Great tip.
Yeah, I
Mm,
did not realize that. That would have been good to know
No.
when we were on our trip in Scotland. Because every time I was selecting my currency. So, yeah, I know that now for future.
yeah.
So, how do you help someone move from dreaming about travel to actually booking that trip?
I work on the mindset, work on people's mindset. So if someone thinks they can't do it, then that's going to happen. they won't do it, right? So you've got to work on someone's mindset. And it's about sharing experiences. So, I mentioned about my bank account, how I've got, if they want to travel and they want to do it regularly, how are they doing their money management? What is it that what can they do or what can they forego? I don't want them to forego anything big, but it might be that extra coffee that they have every day. How about putting that money that would be for an extra coffee into your travel bank account? You're having your coffee, so that's good. You're having at least one coffee. That second one, do you really need it? You probably don't. And health-wise, you probably don't need it either. How about, and it's only going to be a few dollars. How about putting that every week into your bank account? That banks up. That's 5 coffees extra that you're going to have in that bank account. That's just about starting small. And it's about knowing where they want to travel first. So where do you want to travel? Because you've got to understand what sort of money you're looking at to travel to that place. So if it was me and I'm going to Europe, I've got to save a lot more money to go to Europe than I would if I'm going to Asia. It's a lot more expensive. So it's about understanding.
Definitely.
Firstly, with their mindset, yes, you can do this. You've got to start small. It's with anything. Baby steps. Start small. Start putting that extra little bit of money into that bank account. Understanding where you want to go. Is it a budget-friendly place? Is it somewhere more expensive? If it's somewhere more expensive, then you're going to need to save a little bit longer to get that trip. But in the meantime, you can start traveling really quickly. If you start putting and implementing some strategies in place, that means that you've got that more money. Is it about joining a airline miles program immediately if you haven't got one of those? If you're lucky to be in Australia and you've got a supermarket card, attach it. You're instantly going to get points. And if you're going somewhere close and you do enough of that, then you don't really need to save any money because you're going to use your miles to get there. So it's just about, I think what I work with is you've got to understand what the person wants. What is their travel goal? What is it that they want to do? And then it's just about putting all those pieces together to get that. And each person's different. What they want as a trip. Someone might want a cruise. Cruises are fabulous because they're all inclusive in most cases. You've only got one price that you're saving for, unless, you want to do other things that aren't included on the cruise. So, yeah, if someone's a beginner traveler and they want to go somewhere close by, give a cruise a try because it's all inclusive. Then they don't have to worry about their budget. The meals, everything's included, the activities. So, but everyone's individual, What I might want to do might be different to what you want to do and the person that I speak to wants to do. Everyone's different. Everyone's got different things that they want to do, You might want to go shopping. That might be what you want to do. You might want to go, do action, adventure things. Every trip's going to be different, and it's just about breaking it down into easy steps, and then it doesn't become so overwhelming. I guarantee you that once someone does it once and looks at it like that, it becomes easier every time you do a trip after that because you've done that. Something that felt overwhelming then becomes easy, and you're like, I can do this. It's a no-brainer.
Exactly. It really, really is. Once you've done it, you've got it. You can do it again.
Or
So
in
someone
Ann's
listening,
case, I was just going to say, or in Ann's case, you just find someone that you befriend and they do all the work and all you do is just show up with your bag.
Yeah. Love it.
guilty. Sometimes I don't even know
Yeah.
where I'm going.
That's great.
It's awesome. I'm spoiled. Very spoiled. If someone listening feels nervous, hesitant, maybe a little unsure about taking their next trip, what would you want them to hear today?
Be brave. You can do it. I believe in you. It's easy. It's easy when you know how. And you know what? We have such a wonderful world waiting for you to explore. So many people you will meet. It will change your life for the good. Just like Nike says, just do it. Just do it. You have to do it,
Mhm.
even if it's once in your life.
Yep,
And you know what? The once will become a lifelong passion.
definitely. It has for us.
And where can our listeners find you?
I'm on thesmarttravelista.com. If you want to get my travel guides or my entertaining travel stories, you can get them on Amazon. I'm on pretty much all social media under the Smart Travelista. I can be reached by email as well. I love answering travel questions. They're my favorite questions. I would recommend all your listeners, if they want to join a fun travel community, come and join me with the Smart Travelista community. We have such fun and we travel cheaply, but in quality. I hope you all do some wonderful travel.
That's wonderful, Linda. Thank you
Yes.
so much for sharing your story and reminding us that travel doesn't have to be complicated or expensive to be meaningful. And to our listeners, whether you're planning your next big adventure or your first small getaway, we hope this conversation reminds you that smart travel is about confidence, not perfection. We'll link Linda's books, blog, and resources in the show notes and on our website. And until next time, take care, keep traveling your story, and keep making memories for life.